What's up, YouTube fans? Today we're going to do a comparison of the Magic Square Munitioner with the Ocular Fraudo, both versions of Masterpiece Scale Swindles. These came out a few years apart. This is from end of 2019. This just came out in November 2024, so about 4 years apart. And this has been the best Swindle, in my opinion, the best Swindle that's come out. But this one definitely is a contender. So as I always mention with these comparisons, I try to be as objective as possible. Of course, there's subjectivity involved when you're judging things like this. So if I pick one and you prefer the other, then you win. I really try to do these comparisons to help people decide what direction they want to go with their collections, including getting both of them if that suits your needs. So with that being said, let's get started. We'll start off with the accessories. All right, so there are the accessories they come with. And very similar, but they both come with the shoulder cannon. The Magic Square one is fully painted, whereas the Ocular Max has a little bit of paint on it. They both come with the gun. Again, differences in the paint. They both come with the spare tire. The Ocular Max one does have a little bit of rubbery plastic, where this one's just all plastic. And they both come with the mounting bracket for the guns in vehicle mode. The Magic Square one does have a handle, so you can use it as a gun if you want to, or a mounting bracket to make up a bigger super gun. And what we're left with is this alternate face for Magic Square. Now I had to go back and look because this guy actually came with a face, but it came with a different figure. So right now on him I have his smiling face, but he came with a straight face. And I'm not sure which one. It was one of the other Combaticons. But because we get the extra face with Magic Square, I'm going to give them accessories. Next, we'll talk about the gimmicks on these two figures. And they're pretty much identical. The weapons can be mounted in robot mode in two different ways, as well as in vehicle mode. You can attach those weapons to that mounting bracket and have them displayed in the back of the Jeep. So I'm going to give them a tie on the gimmicks. Now let's take a look at the cartoon accuracy and the sculpt. And this was interesting to me because obviously Magic Square going for that hyper-toon look. And I do think they nailed it, especially in the legs, very smooth and clean on the legs, and as well as the arms. But I think the shade of color and the head sculpt on the Ocular Max is closer to the cartoon. It's got more of a brownish tan than this orangish tan. For whatever reason, this tan just doesn't seem like the right color. This one seems to match better with the cartoon, and it's just a more pleasant color in person. So I'm going to give them a tie on cartoon accuracy. I think they both do a pretty darn good job. And because of the thing with the legs, Ocular Max, not quite accurate. Now, when it comes to sculpt, I got to give it to Magic Square. It is very clean from every angle. There's no bits and kibble anywhere. They really did a good job kind of getting everything to hide away. So we'll give sculpt over to Magic Square. All right, next we'll talk about the paint and build quality on these two. When it comes to paint, the Magic Square is pretty much 100% painted. The paint is well done. It looks good. It's good quality. But I'm not sure I love the hue of it, which is more of a preference thing. The Ocular Max is painted on the head, the purple on the chest, the lights, little accents here and there, and then the wheels are painted. But other than that, the orange or the tan plastic is unpainted. So I'm going to give paint over to Magic Square. I think they did a good job on that. When it comes to build quality, both of these figures are really, really well made. There are a couple little tolerance things on the Magic Square where there's a little bit of rubbing, but overall, both well-built figures feel pretty robust. So we'll give them a tie on. All right, next, let's go over the articulation on these two. Starting with the Magic Square, the head is on a rotating swivel. It goes up to there, down to there, and rotates around. Shoulder rotates around on a friction hinge, out to the side on a hinge, and then there's a separate shoulder joint that gets you up to there. You have a rotation here at the bicep. Single jointed elbow, but it gets you almost the full bend. Rotation at the wrist. You have a in and out movement at the wrist. You have individually articulated pointer finger, and then the bottom three fingers are connected, but you can point. Thumb is on a ball joint and a pin, so you can bend that thumb. You do have a double point jointed ab crunch, so you can get the crunch down to there, back to there, and then you have a rotation at that same joint. For the legs, you have a little bit of a weird system, but you have hip skirts here. The front hip skirt rotates with the thigh. Then you can rotate the thigh back. It doesn't rotate, so you'd have to rotate it by hand, but you can get that forward. I found the best way is just to push up on it. It goes back to there, out to the side on a ratchet. Rotation of the thigh on a universal. Double jointed knee gets you the full bend. You have ankle tilts pretty much all the way, and all the way the other direction. Toe tilt up slightly. Coming to Ocular Mechs, we get the head on a rotating swivel. Or actually, sorry, it's a ball joint. Goes up to there, down to there. You get the side to side out of that, so that's different than the other one. And you have a rotation. Shoulder will rotate around on friction hinge, out to the side on friction hinge, up to there. It doesn't have that additional shoulder joint, so that is a little extra piece over there of articulation. Rotation of the bicep. You do have a double jointed elbow, but you don't get much more out of it because this bend gets 90 and this bend gets, maybe 30. So between the two, you get about the same, which is interesting. Rotation at the wrist, no in and out movement, but you have a little bit of a ball joint here at the base. So there's a little bit of in and out movement. Fingers are not individually articulated. They're just on a single pin. So you can't point the pointer finger. And then the thumb is on a ball joint. So you can get that out there. But since the fingers are not as articulated, that would be an extra point for Magic Square. Rotation at the waist. No ab crunch, which is very odd for Ocular Mechs. Typically they are on top of the game in terms of articulation. But no ab crunch on this guy. It does extend, but that's for transformation. Legs will kick up to there, hip skirt in the front, back to there, out to the side, all on friction. Rotation of the thigh around a cut joint. You have a 90-degree bend at the knee, single jointed knee. Again, surprising for Ocular Mechs. You have ankle tilts, and that's somewhat limited as well. And then you have a toe tilt and a heel tilt forward and backward. So because of the double jointed knees, the ab crunch, the articulated fingers, and anything else I missed, I forgot to mention, I'm going to give articulation over to Magic Square. Kind of a no-brainer. They really went all out here on the articulation. Next, we'll talk about the transformation and engineering. And this was kind of a tough one because the Ocular Mechs is the all-in-one. So they've built the foot in, they've built the joints in for the combined mode. So some of the sacrifices they made are due to that. The transformation is fun and intuitive, just like all Ocular Mech stuff. The Magic Square one isn't bad either. I don't hate the transformation. It's a little more tough than the Ocular Mechs. But both of them are okay. When it comes to engineering, though, I think I am going to give it to the Ocular Mechs. They did work in the foot all-in-one mode. I think that is an engineering feat. Now, I do think this one in combined mode does seem to be more appropriate for MP scale. So that's a whole nother question. We will look at the combined mode here a little bit later. But because we're just talking about the transformation, I'm going to give them a tie on transformation. I'm going to give engineering over to Ocular Mechs. All right, and there they are in their alt modes. And quite a bit different here in the alt mode. First, the color scheme, just the contrast of the colors. I think the purple and tan on the Ocular Mechs looks a little bit better. The blue tinted windshield and lights definitely looks better on the Ocular Mechs. I think that was a smart choice compared to the smoked black. Also, there's a lot of detail on the Ocular Mechs one, just little Jeep details, which I think make it more interesting. It still retains the accuracy to the cartoon, which I think I put up there, but it's got some visually interesting details. Whereas the Magic Square, very, very plain, probably on purpose, but very plain. It tends to look a little weird, to be honest, in the Jeep mode, only because it's so plain that, it kind of looks like a leg. But it is accurate. You do have the rotating, they both have it, rotating and going up and down guns. They both have the movable steering wheel, rolling wheels. So all of the features are pretty much the same. But I think I'm going to give it to Ocular Max. I think overall it's a better looking Jeep. The color scheme, the tinted glass and headlights was a smart way to do it instead of putting like a sticker or making it opaque. So we'll give it to Ocular Max. And there they are in combined mode. And again, big size difference here. This is, sort of intentional because this is a parts forming combiner, whereas this is all in one. But you can see the difference there with the foot. I don't have the special parts to add on, but you could see very different looking leg. I think this one is definitely more accurate and better looking overall. They both have storage for all the weapons, so you can't store everything. But I'm going to give combined mode over to Magic Square. I think they just, overall, it looks more like a leg, more purposeful, and more accurate to what I would expect for Bruticus. Next, we'll talk about the cost on these two. And as usual, I use the prices on agehistoryandup.com since they don't monkey with it. The Fraudo figure comes in at $105, and the Munition comes in at $143. Even on the Chinese websites, I think this guy is still $115 or around there. So either way, Ocular Max is going to win on cost. All right, the final factor in this comparison is the members' choice category, where I asked my members which one they prefer just based on their own personal preferences and no other factors. And you can see the Magic Square is going to win the members' choice category. So final thoughts on the comparison. You can see the score. Magic Square is going to take this one. And I'm not surprised about that, but I am surprised how well the Ocular Max has held up. It really is a great figure. It's very fun. Now, a couple of things I noticed after I finished this comparison is there are some untidy things on the Ocular Max, namely this section right here. We can see this steering wheel, then on the side here. So I did already give Sculpt to Magic Square, so I'm not going to penalize them anymore. But that's some of the stuff I think if you like sort of that toy look where it's stylized, it's not necessarily a straight cartoon representation, I think you might still enjoy the Ocular Max, and it's very fun to transform. Now, if you want that straight tune look, I think you're probably just going to be happy with the Magic Square. I might end up keeping both of these. I'm not sure yet. But either way, it was interesting to see how well this has held up after 4 years. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.